It's time for Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group with certified financial planners Kevin Korhorn, Mike Bernard, and Josh Gregory.
Welcome to another episode of the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group, where every week we're helping you take your next wise step in your financial life. Thanks for being here, friends. My name is Mike Bernard. I am your host. I'm also one of the CFPs on the show. With me in the KFG studios, my business partner and fellow CFP, Josh Gregory.
Good to be with you, Mike. Well, the 529 plan is often thought of as an account for paying for college, right? Mm-hmm. That's what you think of it as. But the laws have been evolving over the past couple of years, and there's now more flexibility. But with flexibility sometimes comes complexity. So we're going to help you unpack all of that, understand the 529 plan a little bit better today on the Wise Money Show.
That's right. If you have a question for the show, and you know what, I'm just going to go out and answer one of your questions right now. Hey, I thought it was 3 of you guys, and I'm only hearing 2. Yeah, Kevin's out this week. He's going to be out a couple weeks, actually, doing a couple different trips, just some circumstances with his schedule. So we're going to miss him, but we'll make the most of it. If you have a question for the show, reach out to us. You can do so a few different ways. Call or text 574-222-2000. That's 574-222-2000. WiseMoneyShow.com is where you can find us online, and you can submit questions right there on the right. And then all over social media, that's where most of the questions come from. Lots of engagement. We'll get into some of those later in the program, but just search the Wise Money Show. Okay, Josh. Yep. Traditional thinking, at least for me, 529 plan, it's a college account. Just like you'd think, well, the Roth IRA, that's a retirement account, right? And so, but the rules have been evolving. And one of the most common questions that we've gotten in our career about the 529 plan is, can I use it for blank? I'll fill in the blank in just a second. And that answer has always been, no, you can't. And then that just changed. So we're going to talk about the 3 ways you can use your 529 plan legitimately, the 3 purposes of it. It's not just for college anymore. It's not where it's expanded its use. So let's talk about student loans, okay? Let's start there. Can you use a 529 plan to pay off or pay down student loans?
Well, so the short answer is yes, now you can. And all these changes that you're talking about, the evolution of the 529 plan, a lot of it has come in just the past 5 or 6 years.
I know.
They've been around for 35 or 36 years.
Really?
But yeah.
You would know that.
Oh, well, I looked it up.
Okay. Fair.
We were like 6 or 7 years old when these things came out.
Oh, not you. I was just a little embryo. No, I'm just kidding. Yes. Yeah, I was around. Yes.
No, they've been evolving, but a lot of that evolution has been really recently with some major tax law changes. And this is a big one that suddenly opened up the possibility that, yeah, if you had extra dollars left over in a 529 plan after the college years have come and gone, and your son or daughter has some student loans, you can actually take a distribution one time in your lifetime. Up to $10,000 can be used to pay off student loans.
Yeah. So there is a catch, though. And to explain the catch, let's explain how the 529 plan works to begin with. I think you know this. And coincidentally, when I was sharing the example that, well, of course, you all know the Roth IRA is for retirement. The 529 plan is really the Roth IRA equivalent, but for education. And that is, you contribute money into an account, okay, into a tax-sheltered account that you set up with a sponsoring state and organization. And that money goes in after tax. You don't get a tax benefit, but we'll come back to that. You don't get a federal tax benefit for contributing to the 529 plan. But then all the activity, the growth, the interest, dividends, capital gains, all that stuff is sheltered while it's in the account. So it's a tax-sheltered account, and hopefully it's growing. But then when you withdraw the dollars for a qualified educational expense, and they've added student loans to that list, up to $10,000 once in your lifetime, then all that growth comes out tax-free. If you withdraw the money for a non-qualified expense, which we'll get into those and some examples in a moment, then you do have to pay tax on that growth plus a little bit of penalty. So that's how the 529 plan works. After tax money in, tax-sheltered growth and activity, and then tax-free withdrawal of that growth in the future. Now, the catch here is many states, I told you the unique thing about the 529 plan is it's sort of a state-sponsored plan. Many states offer some sort of tax incentive to encourage its citizens to save up for college. And I love that idea. To me, that's complicating the tax code to help reinforce the right behavior. And so I like that. And I happen
it's huge because in Indiana, we've got one of the most lucrative options at your fingertips, right?
I mean, Indiana, if we're just going to be honest, this isn't the best at a lot of things. Like, it's just, it's best at maybe corn. So my kids had one of these 50 states and facts about these different states. And I was telling them in Michigan, where you and I grew up, Josh, well, the state kind of fruit is apple. It's an apple, but then cherries as well. Michigan cherries gets a lot of attention. And they were like, no. And they were like, what's Indiana? I'm like, corn. It wasn't. I don't even know what it was, but Iowa gets corn.
That's right.
And it's not a fruit, obviously.
I was going to say.
Okay, so
we've got a problem
maybe
with
that's
Indiana's declaring corn as their state fruit.
So anyway, Indiana's not known for being the best at a lot of things, but has, in my opinion, the very best 529 tax incentive. Also, by the way, the very best long-term care insurance. Yeah. And what is that? So it's a 20% state tax credit on the first $5,000 that your household, your tax return contributes that year. And now it goes against state tax. This is state tax credit. So if you happen to live in Indiana but don't pay state tax, well, it's no help. It doesn't help you against county taxes, local taxes. But so here's the catch. If the IRS has now declared and said, hey, student loans, that works. You can take out $10,000 once in your lifetime, draw the money out. It's a qualified withdrawal for federal purposes. Therefore, that growth is tax-free. Mm-hmm. What about the state tax incentive?
They got you.
Indiana has actually come out and said, no, we are not following suit here. Mm-hmm. That is for our state tax benefit, that's still a non-qualified withdrawal. You're going to have to pay that tax credit back. And they did this because lots of folks contribute, and we encourage this, right, for planning purposes, contribute into the 529 plan and then very quickly thereafter use the money. So you haven't had a lot of tax-free growth. You're really using it for the tax credit depending on your circumstance. Well, if they didn't lock this down, people could have a student loan, learn about this new rule and say, okay, great. I'm going to contribute $5,000 into my Indiana 529 plan, get a credit, and then quickly take the money right back out and apply it on my student loan.
Yeah, you could be doing that after the college years are over and everything.
That's exactly right.
We use the Indiana 529 plan, as you were kind of alluding to, sometimes as a tool for saving for college expenses while you're already in college.
Right.
To get this tax credit. Mm-hmm. And, there's about 30 of the states have some sort of a tax benefit, some sort of goodie that you get for contributing to their plan. But none of them are as good as Indiana's.
Right.
That's for sure.
Yeah, Michigan's is a deduction. But the point is, wherever you're listening to this, if you're listening live on the radio, then I'm assuming you're driving through or sitting in Michigan or Indiana. But if you're watching on a YouTube channel or on podcast, I don't know what state you're from. So check your own state's laws. And before you immediately say, wow, they finally are allowing you to use some 529 plan money to pay down a student loan, wait, catch yourself and see if you've received any state tax benefit for your 529 plan and whether your state will force you to pay that back. And you might even say, well, there's no way they're going to know. They're not going to. No, guys, listen, avoid a tax surprise, a big tax mistake. Work with your CFP on that. There's two other uses for the 529 plan and one more detail I want to share about the student loan part of it. So that and more coming up on the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for being here. This is the Wise Money Show. You're at the Wise Money Show channel. What you're watching right now, I'm just going to explain it because people on YouTube, they've gotten some mean comments about this. this is a 1 hour talk show. This is a 1 hour talk show that airs right here on this channel every Saturday at 10 a.m. Also on podcast, and then also live on a couple radio stations. We just had some comments on YouTube where people saying, "Oh, you could have answered the question in a minute." Oh, I understand. I understand that. You don't get mad at,
that would leave a lot of commercial
that
time.
would leave a lot of commercials for a radio. And plus, going deep and going into different areas, even though it doesn't help you, might help some other folks. So there you go. So make sure, if you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. If you like the content, like the content. If you say, no, an hour is just too much on YouTube, I can't handle it, how do I get wise money in more bite-sized pieces? Well, those are our Next Wise Step videos. Also on this channel, come out every single weekday, 5-10 minutes, something like that, taking one financial concept, applying it directly to your financial life. And so make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Thank you very much. Normally, Kevin is sitting right there, and right there. And
he's been displaced, huh?
That's right.
I stole his. I sure hope this microphone makes me sound as smart as him.
So far, not.
I didn't think so.
I'm just kidding.
So have you seen any clients utilizing the loan repayment provision yet?
No.
I mean, I know it's pretty brand new still.
Well, no, because most of the plans we use are Indiana, and you'd have to recapture it. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, prior to Indiana coming out with this amazing credit, we often would use the Virginia plan, for example.
Right.
Just because we like the investment options inside of it. And that's an important thing to recognize, is you don't have to use your state.
Right.
But if your state is offering some really great incentives, don't turn a blind eye to those either.
We can hit that when we get into the college explanation. So
okay.
All right. Can you use a 529 plan to help with your student loans that you still have? The answer is surprisingly yes. It was always a weird answer, no, you can't. But now it's yes, but there's some rules. We're getting into that and more. This is the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Thanks for being here. My name's Mike Bernard, here with me in the KFG studios. No Kevin Korhorn today, but Josh Gregory is with me. Make sure you stay up to date on all Wise Money content. Find us online, wisemoneyshow.com. And you can even submit questions right there as well, and then all over social media. Just search the Wise Money Show. Okay, so we're talking about the three uses of the 529 plan. Used to be just for college. We're going to get into that in just a second. But the first new use started, what was it, a year and a half ago? Mm-hmm. Yeah, 1/1 of 2020. And that is, you can now use up to $10,000 in your lifetime to pay off student loans or pay down student loans. And people, this is a logical question. For my entire career, I'm assuming yours too, Josh, people said, oh, I still have some student loans. Can I use my 529 for that? And it's like, no, unfortunately you can't. Well, I don't get it. I have student loans for college expenses, and the 529 was for college. Why can't I use it? And there was just a law saying you couldn't. Now you can, $10,000 in your lifetime, okay? But the point that we didn't make last segment, I want to make right now, is that is per spouse, basically. It's not per family. So if you're married, you each have student loans, you could each draw $10,000 out of your 529 plan to help cover student loans.
Isn't it true also that you could do it per child as well?
I believe
it's
so.
Per borrower, essentially.
Yep.
So it's possible that each spouse pulls money out for each of the kids, and you maximize it that way. But the point is, it's a lifetime maximum of $10,000,
right.
And I don't think that you have to pull it all out in one shot, though, right?
I don't believe so either.
You just can't exceed $10,000 when you add it all up.
And then for those of you creative folks, how will they keep track of this? I don't know. I don't know, but those are the rules. We're going to follow the rules, and that's it.
Part of the reason this is a big deal, though, is for the longest time, it was always a fear that you would get some money stuck in a 529 plan. You'd have leftover dollars. And we were always hesitant to allow clients to get too much money into a 529 plan, because if you have money left over at the end of the college years, and you have nothing to do with it, you're left with a situation where you may have to pull the money out and use it for other things, which is fine. I mean, you're allowed to do that, but then you end up paying taxes and potentially a 10% penalty on the growth portion. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people want to avoid a situation like that. They don't want penalties. And so in the past, you'd always have to be creative on, well, what do you do in a situation like that? And we would always emphasize that you had the ability to change the beneficiary on a 529 plan, and you still do. That's still an option.
Yeah.
So if your first child doesn't use all their 529 plan, you can essentially roll that money down to a sibling or another family member, yep, and put it to use that way. You don't have to utilize this $10,000 loan option.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so the second use of the 529 plan is the obvious one. And even before we started recording, Josh said, hey, can we just talk about the obvious one first? And I said, no, we can't. We have to talk about student loans first. But okay, the obvious one, the 529 plan has traditionally been a college account. So let's explain that. So that's the second use. You can use your 529 plan, obviously, for qualified college expenses.
Yeah. And, it's interesting. These college plans, they actually, we referenced this in the last segment, they started back in 1986, and it was actually our home state, Michigan, was the first one to create this. I don't know if you knew that.
Wow, I didn't.
But back then, they were prepaid tuition programs. So you were essentially putting money on deposit with the state and prepaying some future tuition expense, which essentially was a way for your money to be set aside and keeping up with the inflationary effects of college. College just keeps getting more and more expensive. Mm-hmm. Well, if you were able to buy at 1986 levels, mm-hmm, and your child eventually grows up and 15 years later goes to school, you've prepaid the tuition towards that school, and a Michigan-based school.
Now think about this. So yeah, I was born in 81, and after meandering a little bit, playing some college hockey in New York, I ended up going to Michigan State after that and graduated in a couple years, and my brother went to Central. Imagine if my parents used the UTMA account, because that was the old type of way you'd save up for college, is just save up in a custodial account called an UTMA or an UGMA, and there's no tax benefit really to that, and it wasn't even designed for college. It was just a minor's account. Mm-hmm. And imagine, you think about the inflation that tuition had from the mid-'80s until we were in college in 99, 2000 timeframe. Imagine how that growth in a prepaid tuition. So interesting.
Yeah, what did education expenses grow at?
7%?
5, 6, 7%, mm-hmm, something like that, depending, mm-hmm, on the state or whatever. So those types of plans, they essentially got expanded in 1996 when the Section 529 of the Internal Revenue Code was added. And that's what created this tax-free environment for you to save up for college. So it basically created the rules 10 years later that allows you to set aside money into an account and let it grow tax-free if you use it for qualified education expenses.
All right.
That's what we think of as a 529 plan. It's the one that we talk about all the time on the show. Technically, there's two different types. We're always talking about the more of an accumulation vehicle or an account to save up for.
Okay, so a couple kind of common questions with that. Can it be used for any college? And the little known secret here is it can be used for colleges that participate in the FAFSA program. Okay, mm-hmm, and if you're ever interested in, well, isn't that everyone? And that's most, but not everyone. You can actually find that full list online. And there are some abroad schools, overseas schools that participate as well. We've actually hunted through that list to help some clients out before. So the college has to participate in the FAFSA program. Does not need to be in the same state that you live in. Doesn't need to be in the state for the 529 plan that you choose if that happens to be a different one. It's no big deal. That really just the college university needs to participate in the FAFSA program. What about?
You can actually check the FAFSA website to see if your school that you're thinking about sending your son or daughter to has a code.
Yeah.
Right? You can look them up.
And don't do that while you're driving. If you're listening while you're driving.
But think about this though. I mean, there's over 6,000 different schools here in the U.S. that can apply
You're
to.
full of stats today, Josh. I'm not ready for this.
I'm trying to impress you, Mike.
Well, you are.
So that could be community colleges. It could be normal 4-year college or university, grad school, law school, medical school, fill in the blank. But recently, this same law that allows you to pay off part of your student loans up to $10,000, it also added the ability to use your 529 plan dollars to pay for apprenticeship programs. That was brand new as well. And that's a big deal for those who maybe are considering trade school or going into some sort of a program right out of school. A lot of these apprenticeship programs, you have certain expenses to get up and running, certain fees or certain equipment that you have to buy. And now all of a sudden, the 529 plan has another avenue. It falls under the same category as like a qualified college or university.
Just consider me impressed. I'm just not that, you're sitting in Kevin's chair. You asked.
That's what it is. It's his microphone.
There's a couple more, I think, obvious questions that come up when you think about, can I use the 529 plan for college, or how does that work? And that is, what is a qualified expense? We're going to hit that in just a second. What are my investment choices? And then, Josh, you mentioned how if you have multiple kids, you can change the beneficiary. Well, what do you mean? I thought beneficiary meant when I pass away, this is who gets the money. So we're going to explain a little bit of that, plus the third purpose of the 529 plan. So that and more coming up on the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Yeah, dude, you did too much prep for this.
It's a big deal. Well, I mean, how often do you have clients ask you though, well, what if my son or daughter doesn't go to college?
Right. Yeah.
And, most families, you have someone who, among the kids, some are destined for college. They're kind of the bookworm. Others are more, hands-on and learn experientially. And some might be pointed towards a military path. But this apprenticeship program or trade schools, some of those kind of specialty career preparation type of avenues, that's appropriate for a lot of people, and you can make a great living.
Yeah.
I actually, so this is how nerdy I've been, at least recently. I wanted to know, well, what are the best trades to go into? And all of them are hurting, right? Yeah. They're all short on people, but plumber, construction manager, and elevator mechanic. Those are the 3 highest paying trades to go into.
Depending on what construction you do, you could actually utilize each of those skills.
There you go.
At one job site. All right, let's get into it. We got to hustle here. All right, the 529 plan, what can you use it for? Not just for college. We're expanding your horizon with the 529 plan. This is the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Thanks for being here. My name is Mike Bernard. Here with me in the KFG studios, Josh Gregory. No Kevin Korhorn today. Every episode of the Wise Money Show is on podcast. Wherever you listen, go check it out. If you catch up on previous episodes, miss something, go wherever you listen to podcasts, search Wise Money Show. Do me a favor, rate it. Rate the show there and subscribe to it as well. All right, so the second, and it's really the obvious purpose of the 529 plan, is for qualified college expenses. Josh, what's a qualified college expense, or give us some examples?
Yeah, I mean, the longest existing list has been things like tuition, your fees, required expenses. Basically, if the school's going to make you spend money on something, for the most part, it's probably going to be covered. There are exceptions to that, but there's certain supplies and equipment. Computers were added not that long ago, back in 2015, I think that became an expense that you could spend money on. And then room and board, or if you're living off campus, rent could be a qualified expense, as long as you're not spending more on rent than what the school says you ought to be spending for room and board.
Well, that's interesting right now as rents are going up like crazy. I wonder if schools can adjust their cost of attendance is what that is. They list that out. Okay, so let me pepper you with a couple questions. Books? Is that qualified?
Yep.
Okay, lab fees, those sorts of things.
Right.
The application fee is actually that's a qualified expense.
I didn't know that.
What about my my child is going to college in Hawaii. I live in, California. The flight? No.
So travel to and from or having transportation on campus, that sort of thing, is not covered. That is a noticeable absent item, right? Probably because it's probably open for abuse, I would assume.
Yeah.
Right?
What about this one? So my son or daughter was duped into getting their first credit card by some vendor there, and they racked up a big bill and just while they were at college.
That wasn't your experience, was it?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
But I did get the free Frisbee.
Good.
When I signed up for
That's
the credit card. So I'm going to say
negative on that one.
That's obviously a no.
The other one, though, health insurance for the student. If they're not on your own group coverage, maybe they buy their own through the school, that one is also noticeably absent from the list.
All right. So with a 529 plan, there's 3 parties involved. You have the owner of the 529 plan. So that's the person who writes the check, makes the decisions, how it's invested, all that sort of stuff. But then the second party is the successor owner. And that is if the owner passes away, who now controls the account, who has authority to make those calls. That's the successor owner. And then in the 529 plan world, beneficiary is actually the student. And so this one, it confuses people. You can only list one beneficiary at a time. I wonder in the future if you'll be able to list 2 or 3. Because if you've got 2 kids and they're both in college at the same time, we've seen lots of people make the mistake of saying, well, Jimmy's in college too. Yeah, the account's in Johnny's name, but let's pull some money out for Jimmy. It's convenient, and I've got the bill. We've got to pay it. I need $5,000 out of that thing, and we'll pay it for I can't remember which J I did, but there, right. But the other child, no. And so you can only have one beneficiary, one child on the account, one student on the account. But you can change it at any time.
That's right. You can change the beneficiary to another family member, and you can even change it to yourself if you're in that situation where there's extra dollars left over when all the kids are done with college. You could go take some college classes or something even after the fact.
And then just to expand your creativity here, your thinking, if you think, well, okay, that's nice, Josh, but I'm not going to go back to college. So then I guess once my kids are done, then any money left over, I'm just out. No. I mean, what about grandkids? Someday, if you've got multiple kids, someday you'll likely have grandkids, and just leave the account. There's no rush unless you need the money.
That's
no
right.
rush. There's no
time limit. Although some states will have a certain age, but that's not like a federal rule that the money's got to be flushed out by a certain age or something.
Yeah.
But the other thing to keep in mind, what if you are in that situation where you have extra money in a 529 plan, more than you ever thought? Maybe your son or daughter either didn't go to school or got a full ride, or the school was just cheaper for whatever reason. You had extra. If you end up needing to just cash the money in and use it for other purposes, one option is to move the money into the child's name and let them cash it in if they're potentially in a lower tax bracket than you.
Interesting.
Someone's going to pay tax on the growth, but it's based on what tax bracket you're in. If they're in a lower tax bracket than you, well, let them have it. It could be down payment for a house or a wedding or something.
There you go. Okay, so that's the obvious purpose of the 529 plan. There's a third now. And so the first obscure one that we talked about was logical. People have been asking it forever. Can I use this money for student loans? You can now use up to $10,000 in your lifetime for student loans, federally qualified, not necessarily state qualified withdrawal. And then obviously for qualifying educational expenses for college. The third purpose is, what about K through 12 education?
Yeah, if you've got private school, or you're sending sending your kids to a local Catholic or a Montessori program or something like that, there's tuition payments there, and they can be expensive. And there are some families that actually would prioritize private school education, K through 12, more than even college.
Oh yeah,
I've had more and more clients say, I'd rather make the investment up front because these are formative years. I really want to control the environment that my kids are in. And then they'll be on their own for college, right? Mm-hmm. Hopefully they're getting more scholarships or something because of their their K through 12 experience or whatever. But now, and by now, I mean, for the past 4 years or so, since 2017, you've been allowed to use up to $10,000 per year per child for these K through 12 expenses.
Tuition expenses.
Thank you for correcting that.
Yeah, not room and board for whatever reason, if that was the case.
They were a boarding school or something.
Yeah. So that's now expanded its use. And I think the confusing thing when you mix this all together is, okay, it shares the same dollar limit as the student loan provision, $10,000. This one is per year.
Yeah, annually.
And the student loan one is in your lifetime. This one is tuition only, where the college purpose is tuition and room and board and other required fees. And so it gets a little tricky. This is also so now you've got 3 reasons you could use a 529 plan. We haven't talked yet about how to invest the 529 plan. Yeah. And I would just point out, and we're not going to have a ton of time to dive into this, but I would just point out that if you're using it for any one of those reasons and the reason changes, you now might need to change your investment risk to match the new reason you're going to use the money for.
That's exactly right. I mean, we always encourage people that when you're making an investment choice, you want the investment to match the time horizon that it's going to be held for. So in that sense, you're kind of matching the investment with its purpose. And college, if you start saving when your kids are in diapers still, you have a long time for that money to potentially grow, a long time for it to fluctuate in value through the ups and the downs of the market and everything, and still recover in time to be used for college. Well, if it's K through 12, do you have 5 years to start saving and then you're going to start using the money? Are you using it more real time? So the point is you can't be too aggressive and allow those investments to fluctuate too wildly if you're using it in the short term for K through 12.
So these rules are a little confusing, and there's planning implications. We've talked about some of the tax benefits and also some of the tax traps that if you don't use it quite appropriately. And then, of course, the investment decisions and cash flow decision with K through 12 tuition, with college expenses, with how you handle student loans. So ultimately, this is a financial planning decision. Work with your CFP on that. All right, we've got questions from fans of the show. That and more coming up on the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. All right, really short break. Let me pull up questions. Okay, we'll start at Instagram.
Whoops. I gotta get these pulled up too. 1 second. Instagram. Okay.
Yep. Thanks for being with us today. This is the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. My name is Mike Bernard. Here with me in the KFC studios, Josh Gregory. Kevin Korhorn is out today. If you've missed anything on the program or missed a previous episode, check it out on the YouTube channel. Go check it out. Just search the Wise Money Show on YouTube and subscribe to it there. You get this episode, all of our others, as well as next Wise Step videos that are little nuggets that we drop in there every business day. So Monday through Friday. So go check it out. All right, we're into our favorite section of the program, and that is questions from you, questions from fans of the show. We've got a few here and they've all basically come through social media and website. This one actually through Instagram. Here's the question. I currently contribute 4% to my 401k. The company matches up to 4%, so that's why I do that. And then I do 2% into the Roth. I'm ready to start contributing an additional 4% and wondered if that should be in the pre-tax side or the Roth side.
Yeah, great question. I mean, we get that all the time, don't we?
Yeah.
And it really, I love this question because it demonstrates the fact that you can't just make a decision on saving for retirement based on cash flow alone. Essentially this person has said, I'm doing 6%, but I could afford to do 10. That's a cash flow realization. They can afford to sacrifice some of their paycheck money for retirement. But you also have investment decisions to make. You also have tax implications to this. And we could keep on going all the way around all 6 areas of financial planning. So this is a true financial planning question here. And to me, if you look at it through the tax lens first, and because that's kind of what they're hinting at is, do I do pre-tax or do I do Roth? They have 2 options in their retirement plan at work. And to me, it boils down to which one is going to have the most impactful consequences in your tax picture.
Yeah, it's a tax question. And so on Instagram, and you didn't need to share all the details of your life, but what is your age? Mm-hmm. That's one question. Are you married? Do you have kids? Which would give us some clues on your taxes and tax credit. How much you make is another one. So here's the thing, so this is a financial planning question. The answer is best derived from looking at all 6 areas of your financial life, and then it will be extremely clear whether you should even switch all of this to Roth or all of it to pre-tax or do a little combo like you've been doing. But if you're younger, advantage Roth.
That's
because
right.
The dollars have a longer time to grow tax deferred, and because if it's Roth, you don't get the deduction on your contribution, but your growth would be tax free when you withdraw it.
So you said younger goes to the Roth, or if you're getting close to retirement and you don't already have a Roth IRA in place.
Correct.
Maybe there's a third option that you're not considering here. You need to get started, at least get a Roth IRA open within 5 years of retiring, because when you retire, this account's going to get rolled over most likely, right? You're going to send the Roth dollars to a Roth IRA. You're going to send the pre-tax money to a traditional IRA. And if you need to start tapping into it after retirement begins, the Roth dollars, you need to have had an account open, a Roth IRA open for at least 5 years, so you don't get hit with any kind of unexpected penalties or anything.
Okay, let's take a tangent here. We'll come back to the Instagram question. This I was going to throw out as a question because there's a video on the YouTube channel right now, an old one with some old camera and lighting, and the content I thought is extremely sound. It talks about the Roth 401k tax trap. And it's one of these videos that right now the algorithm's picked up, and 20,000 views in the past couple weeks, and so it's getting a lot of traction. And I see the comments flowing through, and I tell you, sometimes people can be mean in social media. Don't be mean.
It doesn't bother you though, right?
Well, yes, a little bit. I'm sensitive.
I know you are.
But some people are saying, "Wow, I didn't know that." It's very helpful. Others are saying, "What's the big deal? Everyone knows you've got to have the account for 5 years."
No, they don't.
Guys,
that's right.
I think you're missing it. The point of that entire show, and we're taking a tangent here. I was going to present it as a question, but if you spend your entire working years saving up money into the Roth 401k, okay, then you're saving that money up so that when you retire, you're going to live on that money. I mean, that you're going to flip the switch and stop your paycheck and start withdrawing money and living on it. Well, when you retire, 99,000 out of 100,000 people enroll that money over to a Roth IRA. Mm-hmm. You then start withdrawing that money. You have not had a Roth IRA for 5 years. You've had a Roth 401k for 5 years. You have not had a Roth IRA for 5 years. Now you've got to wait 5 years.
And if you were counting on that money to get you through for the first 5 years, there are strategies that would say, okay, from the time you walk away from the paycheck to when you begin Social Security, maybe you're delaying Social Security as long as possible. You got to be able to live in the meantime, right? And to have access to some tax-free money could be part of your game plan.
Yep.
But by not getting that Roth IRA in place ahead of time, you're messing up your plan, essentially.
So just understand, the Roth IRA has a 5-year rule, and I think that's what these very nice individuals in the social media world are pointing out. Well, yes, listen, I was aware of the 5-year rule for the IRA, Roth IRA. I understand. Most people are not, but there is a 5-year rule on the Roth IRA. But the Roth 401k does not satisfy the 5-year rule for the Roth IRA.
Exactly.
That is the point.
Exactly. So that would be, you mentioned, as getting back to the question from Instagram here, if this person is really young, the more time that you can allow money to grow in a Roth 401k or a Roth anything, the better. Because all that growth is building, it's compounding tax-free outside the reach of the government. Mm-hmm. But there are some times when you are in the latest years of your career, and maybe you need to turn your attention to the Roth IRA just for preparation purposes.
Tax diversification, that's right. Okay, if you're in extremely high earning years and you don't expect to have this high income forever, then advantage pre-tax, right? So obviously if you're working and let's say that you've got a raise, and that's why you can do this additional 4%. Well, if that raise now means you're going to be in a higher tax bracket, not sure you'll be in that high tax bracket for a long time, then advantage pre-tax.
That's right.
Also, and this is one that most people don't intuitively get unless you're doing some proactive tax planning, and that is, all right, is your adjusted gross income, is your AGI close to a threshold that either begins to limit some tax credits or tax deductions that you'd otherwise get? And think about this. I mean, we're coming off the heels of all sorts of helicopter money. That's stimulus money. And how did they determine how much stimulus you got? Your adjusted gross income.
That's right.
And for many people, they were really close to getting some stimulus, but they missed out because their adjusted gross income was too high. And pre-tax, if you contribute pre-tax, that can squeeze your adjusted gross income down and could mean you qualify for more tax benefits.
And that's a big deal because a lot of these tax incentives or tax rewards, I should say, they have some sort of a phase-out period where if your income crosses a threshold, you start losing the benefits slowly over time until they're eventually gone. There's others where it's more of a cliff. If you creep over by $1, you just lost all kinds of good stuff in the tax code. And so paying attention to your adjusted gross income is really important. And here's why it matters. If you discover that you're going to be falling into that threshold or that phase-out range, or you're going to fall over a cliff, as I was describing, in order for your traditional 401k contributions to have an impact on your tax picture, you've got to make the adjustment early in the year, right? I mean, if you discover this in September, you've only got 3 months left to start trickling more dollars in. It may not be enough. It may be too late. And so we always say you are always in tax planning mode. Right? We often think of the fall as an ideal time to take a measure of, well, where do I stand before the end of the year? But you really need to be having those thoughts way back in the spring. Maybe when you're filing last year's tax return, it's not too early to start thinking about this year's tax return.
Yep. I hope that's helped. I'm going to sneak in one more question here, but just to put the wraps on this. You know, Josh, you were talking about at the beginning, hey, this is a quintessential financial planning question. So how much you contribute towards retirement, and in this case, to the 401k, that has an influence, a bearing on your cash flow, so present financial position. The more you save up for your financial future, the more quote-unquote self-insured you are, so it influences your protection plan. This is a obvious tax question. Do I want the deduction now, or do I give up the deduction now and for tax-free growth in the future? So tax planning, of course, how you invest these dollars once they're in there, and if you use the same investment strategy for pre-tax and Roth, it's an investment decision as well, investment planning. How much you save up for retirement is one of the biggest influences and factors when it comes to when you're able to retire and if you're able to do so safely. So retirement planning is clear as well. And then all of these dollars that you're saving up for the future, you've got a beneficiary attached to them. And that beneficiary of yours, if you deferred the taxes, well, they're going to need to pay it. If you did Roth, then they're going to inherit the dollars tax-free. So it's a estate planning decision as well. This one little decision impacts all 6 areas of your financial life. And that's why we obsess over the best way for you to make this decision is in the context of all 6 areas, working with a certified financial plan who's doing comprehensive financial planning.
Preach it.
That's the end of the show. We're done. That's the last episode. I'm just kidding. All right, Dave, let's sneak this question in. Dave in YouTube, and we're getting a ton of these comments as well. It's so sad. I'm still waiting on my tax refund. What should I do? I filed my tax return in March. What should I do?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm hearing all kinds of stories like that. Either people who just now, here in the middle of the summer, finally getting their tax refund, or even more people who are still waiting. And, the reason for it, it sure feels like the IRS is kind of distracted right now with they've been trying to get stimulus checks out. Now they're trying to scramble around and figure out these child tax credit, advance payments and everything, setting up the portal for all that. They don't have their eye completely on the ball of getting dollars out to you, but that doesn't mean that something's wrong necessarily. It just means it's still a waiting game.
So what do you do? Number one, hopefully you worked with a CPA and a CFP, and you reach out to them and say, hey, can you just confirm that my return is filed, it's in good standing? So
that it got accepted by the IRS.
It got accepted. Yep. So that's the first thing you do. If you didn't, then if you filed yourself, you got to figure out a different way of seeing if it's filed. Second, you can go to check my status, where's my payment sort of thing on the IRS website and try to get an update there. But then that's it. You could always call the IRS, but you're going to be waiting a while. So that's all the time we have today. On behalf of Josh Gregory, all of us at KFG, have a great weekend. We'll see you next Saturday for the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group.
Securities offered through Silver Oak Securities, member FINRA/SIPC. Advisory services offered through KFG Wealth Management, LLC. Doing business as Korhorn Financial Group. KFG Wealth Management, LLC and Silver Oak Securities Incorporated companies are unaffiliated.